Welcome back, Focus Learners, to another Explainer. Today, we are absolutely turning everything you thought you knew about toxic hustle culture upside down. We're enthusiastically unpacking a seriously counterintuitive playbook on discipline straight from Indian football legend Sunil Chhetri. If you've ever felt completely exhausted by the constant pressure to grind, you are going to love this. It's a completely fresh take on building habits.
Okay, let's dive into this. Why is discipline so incredibly hard for most of us? Honestly, it's not a knowledge problem, right? We all know we should eat better, we know we should get more sleep, but day in and day out, we slip up. And the source material hits the nail on the head here. It feels totally impossible because we completely ignore our basic humanity. We just expect ourselves to function flawlessly every single day without exception. Which brings us to this deeply empathetic point from Chhetri. He says, we aren't robots. Moods matter. And it's so true. How you actually feel on a given day completely dictates your output. If you're feeling down, if you're navigating grief, or hey, even if you're just out celebrating a best friend's birthday, all of that changes your mental state. And you know what? That is absolutely okay. Pretending it doesn't matter is exactly why the traditional idea of discipline just completely breaks down. So to help you build unshakable, realistic self-discipline, we're going to cover 5 key pillars today. 1. Redefining discipline. 2. Zero-effort hacks. 3. The promise power loop. 4. Navigating bad days. And finally, number 5, the off-season mindset.
All right, jumping right into section 1, redefining discipline. Before we can actually build it, we've got to understand what it means at its psychological core. The explainer completely reframes discipline. It shouldn't be viewed as a punishing chore. It's simply a promise made to yourself that you will actually keep. It's setting a personal boundary and saying, I'm going to do this, and then flat out refusing to break your own word. So when your motivation completely tanks on a random Tuesday, it's not about hunting for some magical burst of inspiration. You're just keeping the promise you made to yourself. And this brilliantly illustrates what we mean. Just look at the overwhelming, monotonous daily grind of an elite athlete. It's not all glamorous goals. It's ice baths, saunas, foam rolling, stretching, taking a nap, hitting the gym, eating snacks, and sleeping. Literally doing this tedious routine day after day proves why you absolutely need internal drive. Fleeting motivation just won't cut it for this kind of schedule. Moving right along to section 2, zero-effort hacks. This is where things get super counterintuitive. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the contrast. When we think about getting healthy, we imagine high-effort torture, right? Driving to the gym in the rain, forcing down boiled broccoli. Those things actively burn a ton of energy. But the true zero-effort realities, they're things like putting your phone away at night or not eating sugar. You're literally just omitting an action. You are doing absolutely nothing. Let's look at how this plays out with a fascinating timeline from the source about a friend of Chhetri's who gave up sugar. Now, sugar is in basically everything, so day 1, total mental battle. Cravings are peaking. But check this out. By day 19, he was feeling tangibly, noticeably good. And by month 6, the cravings just vanished entirely. Simply omitting this one thing radically improves your baseline energy and your sleep quality. Eventually, your body just adapts and stops asking for it.
The exact same zero-effort logic works for sleep. 9 p.m., put the phone away. 10 p.m., go to sleep. Now sure, initially, you're going to toss and turn. You'll lie there wide awake until 1 a.m. But the source promises us that over a month, your body completely adapts. 1 a.m. turns into 12:45, then 12:30, and before you know it, you're effortlessly falling asleep at 10 p.m. You didn't run a marathon, you literally just left a piece of plastic in another room.
Let's head into section 3, the promise power loop. Because once you start using these zero-effort hacks, the psychological payoff is absolutely massive. Let's move to and see how this builds. It's a total snowball effect. Because you slept at 10 p.m., you naturally wake up at 6 a.m. And because you're up at 6 a.m., you don't immediately crave junk food. Instead, you grab some warm lemon water. You meditate. You're suddenly speaking kinder and judging less. Keeping just one tiny promise creates this amazing positive reinforcement loop that naturally attracts more good habits. And the emotional result is just profound. Chhetri says, the feeling that I say something and I can do it is bloody powerful. Think about it. If you commit to going for a 10-minute walk in specific shoes every single morning and you actually do it for 6 months, you build an addictive level of self-respect. What you think about yourself matters so much more than what anyone else thinks. Keeping your own commitments builds unshakable confidence. But what happens when life throws a massive wrench in your plans? That brings us to section 4, navigating bad days. This is really the climax of our explainer.
Let's ground this psychologically. When things go bad, people usually fall into one of 3 coping mechanisms. First, food and alcohol. Second, escaping into phones and social media. Or third, workaholism. Now, the source impartially notes that Chhetri himself actually leans heavily into that third category. He gets super guarded and hyper-disciplined when stressed. But he realizes that for the average person, that is a fast track to burnout.
So the crucial point is this completely counterintuitive rule. For the average person on a bad day, don't force yourself to go to the gym. Seriously, eat a samosa, cry, wrap yourself up in a cozy quilt. Give yourself some grace. But on a good day, when you're energized, when you're happy, when your team just won, that is when you must become strictly disciplined, eat incredibly clean, and push your absolute limit.
Exactly. Don't force the grind. Give yourself grace. Hustle culture tells us to push through grief and severe stress, but honestly, that almost always backfires completely. Sometimes you're stressed, you feel trapped, and you just don't have the answers. And in those moments, it's okay to just grab a cup of sugary ginger tea, a jalebi, and simply take a break. Finally, we've arrived at section 5, the off-season mindset. Because building discipline is a never-ending, highly peer-driven process, even for the most elite pros.
I absolutely love this anecdote from the source. Chhetri was enjoying this rare, relaxing 10-day break. He's eating pizza, totally taking it easy in the off-season. And out of nowhere, his teammate Suresh Wangjam drops a picture of his shredded six-pack into their WhatsApp group. Instantly, the competitive pressure kicks in, and Chhetri is like, now I need to go to the gym, man. It just perfectly illustrates how keeping a disciplined circle around you pulls you right back up when you want to slack off. And speaking of taking a break, look at the number 6. With his recent retirement from the national team, he joked that he finally gets a mere 6 days of break during international duties. I mean, we should really mentally add some graphic, dramatic tears here for that retirement mention. It's a stark reminder of the relentless, year-round commitment it takes to operate at that level. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I've got a provocative question for you. What is the single promise you will make to yourself today? Remember, it doesn't have to be some monumental, high-effort mountain climb. Pick one zero-effort habit. Leave the phone in the other room. Skip the sugar. Make a simple promise. Keep it and start your own incredibly powerful loop of discipline right now. Thanks so much for learning with us, and we'll see you next time.